Okay, so we're continuing the Parashat Shemot, right, from what we learned on Monday. And briefly, or a recap, the Netivot Shalom asked, right, and other asking that in the covenant between the parts, Hashem showed or giving a prophecy to Avram that his descendant will be slave and torture in a foreign land 400 years, right? And we understand it's punishment, but how can it be a punishment if we are not even a nation yet? Like punishment for what? So one answer is that Hashem see everything, and He know that in the future we're going to sin, and He will punish us. This is one option. But the other one, what the Netivot Shalom is trying to explain is that, and he bring an example that Avram was bargaining and trying to avoid this situation with Sodom and Gomorrah that Hashem wanted to destroy. Eventually he did, but he was bargaining. So we see that here Avram was not bargaining, right? He was trying to change the decree on the Bnei Israel, because it's not a punishment. It's Hashem is telling Avram, if you want your descendant to be the chosen nation, then they have to go through a boot camp. You need to make them elite soldier in order for them later on to receive the Torah and everything. So it's not punishment. Learn also that Hashem scheduled everything from the time of creation. Everything is as time and place, but we have the ability to change that by doing a good thing. For example, if Adam Arishon were not doing the sin that he did, then the whole world will be fixed on Friday night. However, he did it, so now we are paying for that. Are you there? And we stopped here. It says that everything was mean and facilitated for Israel in order for Hashem to have a place in this world, Dira B'Tachtonim. And he said that we, the nation of the Jews, are so tiny little that he gave an analogy, Masha, like a soul. So the soul you don't see because it doesn't capture a space. You don't see a soul, you cannot measure it, but it's giving the vitality to the body. So the same way we. However, only if we do Hashem will, then we are enabling, metaphorically, right? Because Hashem can do whatever he wants, but it is like the part that if we do Hashem's will, we are enabling Hashem to go down to this world. Not in a shape or form. Again, it's something spiritual that we don't really grasp exactly what does it mean, right? Instead, even though if we don't understand the secret of the creation and the purpose of it, right, or the essence of it, but our sages discovered and told us that that's the purpose, that Hashem wanted to have the ability to dwell in this world, and it is possible only when we doing Hashem's will, then we are enabling. And according to that, now we're continuing. This world, it says, it's not only that is the world of troubles and hard time, and it's dark, full of desires, right? It said it's not contradicting the purpose of the creation, because the way that the good is doing, he wants to do good to others, but it's all a preparation in order for us to eventually arrive to the real good thing, that the flesh and blood actually could be able to achieve that spiritual pleasure and enjoy from Hashem, from his glory of the Shekhinah, right? As the Mesilat Yesharim said, this is the pleasure that there is no other pleasure beside that. It's not like others that can say that, everything that was forbidden here, after you die, if you do Hashem will, you will be able to enjoy all the things that were forbidden here. This is really ridiculous, because here it's all gashmit, it's all physical thing, but in the upper world, it's all spiritual thing. So it's a different type of pleasure that we cannot really understand. Maybe, a little tiny thing, we can understand what is a spiritual pleasure. And one of the good examples that I learned many years ago is that, okay, fine, the best steak that you can ever eat, right? It's, I don't know, like 2 pounds of meat from South Africa when the cows are eating grass, and they're looking at the mountains view and they're enjoying the world, and then we eat that steak and the meat is very soft. But fine, yeah, I can remember it. So this is nonsense. But just think about you saving a baby or a sick child or somebody that is about to die, or the car is about to run over and you jump and you save him. And you're getting a thank you letter from his parents, right? And then 13 years or 12 years, 10 years after, you're getting an invitation for his bar mitzvah. And then after a few years, you're getting invitation for that kid wedding, and then to his first brit, and then to the first wedding of his child, right? So you see how it is expanding and expanding and expanding. And every time when you think about it and you are being invited to that kind of simcha, you're getting so much pleasure because it will never end. And if it's a Jew and he's keeping Torah mitzvot, then basically, some of the rewards will come to you. Not reward, but just to think about the merit of doing that. This is a spiritual pleasure like 1 part 60,000 that maybe we can understand how it will be in the upper world, right? So by putting the effort and everything that we're doing here in this world, fighting the desire, we can maybe achieve that pleasure, the spiritual pleasure, after 120. But we need this world to refine us and purify us. By the avoda and the Torah and everything, we will be able to achieve or to reach to the purpose of Hashem that He wants to do good for us. Even though in the process, unfortunately, we need to suffer sometimes, right? Sometimes we need to suffer, right? And also, ורצה הקדוש ברוך הוא שישראל לא יאכלו נעמה דכיסופה. So Hashem is like, was asking the neshama, would you like to have a free meal? And the neshama said, no, I would like to work for it. I don't want to feel like a parasite, right? So it's the na'ama d'kisufa, something that you really yearn for, you really put the effort, you work for, and you earning it. This is something different than just to get a freebie all the time. And be able to do that again, only to facilitate these things. And he says, and truly, yeah, angel and surfer that are not dwelling in this world, they cannot achieve, although they are in the upper world, right, in the upper spiritual world, but they cannot achieve the level that we can achieve here in this world, because we need this world, right? And he said, and some can achieve that purpose already in this world. Some of our sages, the great Gedolim could do that here in this world. And there are some that cannot achieve only, after they put the effort here and then they die. And then in Shamayim, they will be able to get to that thing. But this is the purpose of the creation, that the flesh and blood will be able to have the merit or to gain the possibility of getting pleasure from Hashem. And this is the main thing of the 4 exiles that we have, that the Torah revealed to us already in Bereshit, right, in the creation. Right? So the first psukim about how the world was before Hashem, like put everything in order, they are hint for the 4 exiles. Right? Yavan ve'Edom. And all of these exiles bringing to the spirit of Hashem, right, floating or hovering above the water. And actually, again, we know that everything is just attribute, but here is saying that actually the Ruach Elokim merachefet, hovering over the water, it's the soul or the spirit of the Melech HaMashiach. And he said, what does it mean? That the Rucho Shel Mashiach, the soul of the Mashiach, should be that when it will be fulfilled, that the land, right, the Aretz Mal'at De'ah et Hashem, that everything will be filled with Hashem wisdom. Or everything will be filled with people that would like to learn Hashem wisdom, right? That would like to know Hashem. And this is the whole purpose of the creation, right? We're davening 3 times a day in Alenu Leshabech. That will be one day that everybody will worship and understand there is one Hashem, right? What does it mean? The same thing. This is what it means. And then when it will be fulfilled, then we will have the pleasure from Hashem and for the glory of His Shekhinah. And all the 4 exiles, the purpose is to refine us, right? I'm just jumping because basically we are more or less repeating the same thing, that eventually that will be able to enable the light of Mashiach to appear. And he said, and the refining is not necessarily on the sin. It's not necessarily, because we do have sages people, righteous people that live here, and they're also suffering, and they don't do anything. He said, oh, it's only for refining the body, the physical body. Even if you're 100% righteous person, you still live in this body. You need to refine the body, right? So it's not easy to wake up every morning, but if you're doing it because it's Hashem will, and you're jumping from bed, or actually some of our righteous Gedolim, they didn't like even to sleep because they were Mevatel Torah. So the entire life until they passed away in 100 and something, they were sleeping 2-3 hours a day. Who can do that? You can do that when you know that that's the purpose, right? And this is what Hashem revealed to Avraham Avinu in the covenant between the parts, that specifically on the exile to Egypt, he told him specifically, you should know they're going to be dwelling in a foreign land, right? And they will be slaves, and will be tortured and everything. And 70 righteous people came into Egypt, and million came out, but in the 49 level of Tumah. Why? In order for us to get to the level of receiving the Torah. Then we will be in the context of Ani Amarti Elokim Atem. You are like not gods, but right, but like judges, important people, and sons of upper one. And in order for you to get that, you have to go through the refinery of Egypt, of the exile, right? And that's why Abraham didn't argue with that, right? Because that was Hashem's will. And we came out righteous, and we came in righteous, and we came out in the 49 level because Hashem wanted to have us in that process of refining and purifying us in order for us to receive the Torah. That's process. And by the way, this process we do, whoever can actually feel it or doing it, we're doing it between Pesach and Shemot. That's the day that we're counting, right? Every day we're stepping up in another level, another level, until the 50 days, which is actually we're going out, right? Because we're counting 49, and the 50 is Shavuot. So it's like we are stepping out from all of these 49 level of Tuma from Pesach until Shavuot. So it was not applicable only, like 3,700 years ago. It's applicable each and every year on a different scale, but it's still the same thing. And this is what our sages explain us in Brachot. Tanya Rabbi Shimon, right? Ben Yochai Omer. So he said, 3 good gift Hashem gave Israel. And they gave the gift, it was not a free gift, but he gave them by Yisurim, suffering. It's the Torah, it's the land of Israel, and the world to come. So these are the good gift, but there's no free gift, right? No free lunches. We need to work for it, and we suffer in the way, right? And the explanation why these 3 things you can achieve only by Yisurim, because they are light, spiritual light. And in order to get to that special light, we need to go again from the process of refining ourselves, our body. And this is what's including in the Bria, right? Again, to achieve the light of Mashiach. That's why they said, some of the prophecies said that Zrat Hashem and Mashiach will come, and not many will have the merit. They will not be able to bear, right? It's the same thing like the Makat Choshech, the darkness in Egypt. Some say that actually it was light. It was a so strong light that the Egyptian couldn't bear it. So for them, it was like darkness. For us, it was light. So this is spiritual light. And in order for us to be able to observe or to stand and not to die in that spiritual light, we need to have the merit. And Mashiach will actually, at the time that will come, that will be the light. And we'll be able to receive that light, the revelation of the Mashiach. So the same thing in the 3 things, right? The Torah, the land of Israel, in Olam Haba. He said, as our sage says in the Torah, "En divrei Torah mitkamim ela b'mi shememit atzmo alea," right? That you pretend to be like dead, and everything is nonsense, and only the Torah is the main thing. And by doing that, we are going to achieve the light of the Torah. And so also the suffering of the land of Israel, right? That we need actually to live over there, but we don't really do it because it's difficult, blah, blah, blah. So many explanations, so many excuses, like me myself as well. And that's a good example. That's a proof that it's really, you acquire the land of Israel by suffering, trying to work hard and try to overcome all the excuses, how to make a living, how to do this, how to do that. Yeah, it's not simple. It's not simple, right? But then when we'll get there, and even then in Eretz Israel, it's not easy. Although, it's a mystery to me. In Israel, without getting into the numbers and mathematics, but bottom line, the living that people make in Israel compared to other places, compared to the whatever they need to buy, like housing and cars and everything, the income in Israel is really, really low. We should be like one of these unfortunate countries in Africa when people still living in tents and they don't have running water. But if you look at Israel for the last 70 years, you see what we achieved and the building, and everybody complaining that they don't make a living, but everybody driving a new car and they're living in houses. And there's so many things that goes into the land of Israel, whatever merchandise from all over the world, that it's unbelievable. There's no logic explanation. I think I saw that before. A German company named Stadler, when I was working in stationery company, they sent people to visit Israel. Among them, there were like the warehouse where we were the headquarters, because they couldn't understand how at the time we were, I don't know, like 7.5, 8 million people population, consuming every month more than 1 million disposal pens. They couldn't understand where the pens are going. Million pens for population of like 7 million people. They couldn't get it. We write a lot. What can I tell you? Right? So you see, there is that doesn't make sense. There's no logic in the land of Israel because we're living under the direct supervision of Hashem. But in order to acquire that, we need to suffer, unfortunately, because this is what Hashem did. In order for us to get this gift, this present. And that's refining it will be for our body. And then later on, we'll be able to receive the light. So what we learn now, we say that as long as the creation is getting progress and getting forward to the purpose, right? לא כפי שנראה לכאורה, because it doesn't look like it's doing it, right? Today, if we look at the events that happened yesterday here or today, right, with the election and everything, and all over the world, we see there are countries and fight and war, right? So it doesn't look like the creation is moving forward, right? It looks like we're going backwards. But he said, no, to your eyes, it looks like we are not going forward, but the creation is moving forward, but it's shaking, it's going from one side to another. It looks like doesn't have a target or a purpose, like contradicting the purpose. But all of these things actually bring us to the purpose of the creation in order to do good to humanity, right? To enjoy from Hashem. And that's why we have all of this shaking. And I don't know if you notice, but if you look at the invention that we have in the past 120, 130 years, it's looked like humanity were more or less standing still almost until 300 years ago, 200 years ago with the Industrial Revolution. And then the inventions are like unbelievable, from building up airplane to go to the moon, to send satellite to outside of our galaxy, crazy thing. And computing and smartphone that nobody thought about it like 15 years ago. So everything now you can see how everything is running forward. Not necessarily it's good for us, but it's part of the plan. So he said, and now we can see, that that's all building up the Geula. And the more we're going down, right, then that will be the greatness of the Geula. כדאי לדבר אברהם לבאר מדוע הניח הקדוש ברוך הוא right לישראל בגלות מצרים. Why Hashem actually let us sink into the 49 level of Tuma? Why? Right? Why? Because going out from there, because the evil inclination was getting so stronger, but when we overcome, because eventually we did overcome because we received the Torah, right? So doing that, going from the depth into a really high level, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Because we were supposed to see divine revelation in the event, right, that we had in Mount Sinai. So in order for us to see that great revelation, we need to be in a very high level. And to get into a high level, you need to be down and then pull yourself up all the way up. From the 49 level to the opposite of the Tuma, to the purified yourself, right? I think I'm going to maybe jump a little bit. I know that some of us are already falling asleep. So according to that, it will be explained in the Sefer HaKadosh, Be'er Mayim Chaim, al pasuk, right? So it says, now we're going to explain another thing. ומאז באתי אל פרעה לדבר בשמך, ירא לעם הזה, right? So later on in the parashiot, Moshe will go to Pharaoh and we're explaining about the divine plan, right? and Pharaoh will, of course, will reject it. So then Moshe is complaining to Hashem, he said, look, since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, only bad things happen to us. Like, right? That was complaining, which we know our sages teaching us that was wrong. Because it says when a Jew is getting stronger in Avodat Hashem, when we are inspired, right? And we would like to do better in Avodat Hashem, and we have that inspiration and that motivation, and that we like to learn, we like to finish the shas, we like to do things, we like to do mitzvot, we like to do chasadim and everything, then the evil inclination is also getting harder. It's getting harder, right? It doesn't let us do it. It doesn't let us do it because this is how Hashem built it, right? And then we have the war, a strong war. It's a fight, right? And by doing that and fighting that, right? You want to learn Torah, suddenly you have all of these phone calls and something you need to go, you need to buy something you break. Why? The evil inclination doesn't want you to learn Torah. But if you put that aside and said, okay, I will delay it, I will take care of it later, and I will do a shiur Torah, then you overcome the evil inclination. You win the battle. But it's a war with many battles, right? But eventually, and this is what Hashem was telling Moshe, because Moshe was complaining. Since I came to Pharaoh, I showed him the divine plan. He kicked me out and he said, okay, I'm going to torture your people more. Hashem, why you did it? And Hashem is telling him, you see, okay, now you're suffering more. But later on, you will see what I'm going to do to Pharaoh, the 10 makot and everything. And then after the 10 makot, you will see the great light, right? The great light, and then receive the Torah. But before that, you need to, so another explanation was that we need to do our time, right? So more torturing equal less time. You could torture a little bit, but the time will be longer, or a lot of torturing in a short time. So this is one explanation. וזה יש לומר מאמר חז"ל במדרש על הפסוק, וירא אלוקים את כל אשר עשה והנה טוב מאוד. So everything that Hashem did, he saw and he said, that's very good. And what is very good? Good, right? The Yetzer Tov. And very good is the evil inclination. And it's a wonder, it's a question. Why are we calling the good inclination, right? Good. But the evil inclination, we're calling it very good. Why? Because if we have that, then we can identify or distinguish between the evil and the good. So that's why it's very good that we can distinguish. Of course, it's not good. The good is good. But by having the negative thing, we can see exactly what is good and what is not good. That's why it said it's very good for the evil inclination. And it explained that from the depth, the redemption will be built, from the depth of the exile. And also, that's why it says, right? Right? We're reading it in the Parsha and also in the Agada, that after the slavery and after everything, when we were redeemed from Egypt and we left Egypt, Hashem is promising Abraham, Yetzu berechush gadol. He said, no, it's not like the silver and the gold that we're calling a rechush gadol. Rechush is from acquiring, but it means that after that, we will come out with acquiring a spiritual level. That's the rechush gadol. We will be elevated into a level of a nation, right? The melting pot. And then after that, after the process of the 49 days, we will be able to receive the Torah. And you see that how things really actually happen relatively quickly, but the process itself took time. So the process was to be enslaved, whether if it was 400 years from the time of Yitzchak was born or from the time that Yaakov went down to Egypt. Eventually, it was at least 200 years of slavery. But then, after that 200 years of slavery, you see that 50 days it took us to become a nation and 50 days to receive the Torah. Right? That was very quick. זה מה שאמרו חז"ל. Right? כל שאינו בהסתר פנים אינו מהם, שנקטו לשון וזה, שאינו לקטו. Okay. So the הסתר פנים, there is another concept, right? ואנוכי אסתר אסתיר, that Hashem is hiding from us. Hiding from us. Right? He said, why? Because that, when Hashem is hiding, that brings us to be the chosen nation. And by doing that, when we think that, Hashem is not with us, or we don't see the miracle, we don't see the Ashgacha and everything, we're working hard for that, and we have the faith to keep us going, then that will bring us to the higher level, to the highest one, right? Esther Panim said that when Hashem is hiding himself, it's like a corridor in order for us to go. And later on in the Torah, Moshe is telling us specifically, don't be scared, don't be afraid, because Hashem is testing you. He's torturing you in order to test you. And it's a big deal not to give up. Not to give up, right? We know that the wicked people, when they see the evil inclination, then it looks like a mountain, and the righteous people, it see like a thin hair. But it's actually the opposite. The righteous people think that the evil inclination was like a big mountain that they need to conquer, and after they do that, they say, it's a small thin liquid hair, like it's not a big deal. And then the wicked people, they see it like they thought it's big mountain, so they gave up. But then they saw it like thin, like a hair. They said, what? How come we gave up? It was small, tiny little thing. Messed it up. But he said, that's the thing. The Esther Hashem is hiding, right? Then that's bring us, because he says, when a Jew lives comfortably and with pleasure, he needs to check himself.
You're breaking up.
Oh, yeah. Why? Internet is not stable. Okay, maybe I'll stop the video. Can you hear me now? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I stopped.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now I can make funny faces, nobody see me. So it says, when a Jew is living comfortably, he needs to check himself. Why? Why he has pleasure? Because maybe, chas v'chalila, he is not including in the one that Hashem is hiding himself from. And Hashem giving him the reward here, right? Because from the suffering and from the torturing, a Jew become very close to Hashem. And all the four exiles bring us to that purpose of the, eventually to the Geula, by having this thing. Now, I know that it's all going to close on me. I want to go just to, I think, to the last one. And with that, we will conclude. So basically, I will just do a quick recap, and then we will do the end. So we started with the question, right? How come the exile come as a punishment? And the answer from the Netivot Shalom was, it's not a punishment, it's a boot camp. It's a boot camp. And this is how Hashem facilitates everything, because we need to work and put the effort. And it's not just that, it's also the suffering and the torturing that our nation went through for exiles and all the pogroming and everything. It's all part of the big plan. Now, we had some options to stop it, whether if it was Adam Arishon, whether if it was the generation of the Mabul, whether if it was the sin of the golden calf, whether if it was the Meraglim, right? We had like an exit point. But we do it every time. But still, it is also part of the plan. And the one that Hashem is hiding himself from, those are the one that actually should be happy, because when Hashem is hiding himself, again, it's not really hiding, but this is how it appeared to us, that is not with us. So in order to test us and to work on our faith. And everything that happened in Egypt, that was actually the main exile that was building us as a nation in order for us to receive the Torah and to continue with the plan. Although we blew it twice, in the sin of the golden calf and the Chet HaMeraglim. But he said, and now individually, right? During the slavery in Egypt, we didn't have the merit. We learned that as well, that we didn't have the merit to get the expedite, the fast track, and Hashem couldn't wait, because we're in the 49 level of Tuma. The 51 is Lak Emuna. So we still had only faith. And by having that faith, Hashem could actually redeem us, not through the on time and not from the fast track. And we were broken. So a Jew, when his heart is broken, right, that's a very good level of a lev nishbar v'nitker, because Hashem is not going to despise that. And that was the only madrega, only the level that we had in order for us to be redeemed. And that was the chidush. right? Because it says, כמאן דכתוב, פקוד יפקד אלוקים אתכם, right? בפקידה מיוחדת. It was like Hashem was like coming to us in a special way, right? Because Hashem, as we said, we learned, Hashem wants to dwell in this world. And in order for us to enable that, we have to work on ourselves, to refine ourselves in the body. And everything is like part of the big plan, on the purpose of the creation. And this is what, וזה ביור מה שטען משה, right? And this is what Moshe was like, he's telling to Hashem, who am I? That I will go to Pharaoh, I'm going to redeem the Bnei Israel. I'm nothing, I'm nobody, right? Zero. I don't have any positive level. How good can I, good, what I'm good for? And Hashem told him, Ki anochi imach, don't worry, I will be with you, right? Like Hashem is dwelling with the poor people. And that was the sign, right? When you're going to take out the nation out of Egypt, you're going to worship me, right, on that mountain. So that mountain, that was the revelation, right, of Hashem and receiving the Torah. And that was, again, it was supposed to be the final fix, but we blew it, unfortunately, right? Because when we came to the Mount Sinai, we still have the filth from Egypt. רק את המדרגה של בטלות אתלם, but we have only the level of like התבטלות, canceling, right, the ego or ourself. And that was the sign for the גאולה of Egypt, right? כמה דכתוב ויאמן העם וישמעו, right? So בעזרת Hashem, we know that we're getting closer. And learning all of this, we understand that, it's part of the big plan. And we should not be discouraged or thinking that, there is no hope, we are doomed and everything. My classic example for myself when I was talking to my father was like when he was in the carrying bodies in the crematorium, sitting on bodies, whatever. I asked him, if somebody will tell you that you are going to be in a traffic jam in a car with air conditioning that nobody thought about it, in a city that was never exist, and your son will talk to you in video from the United States working in a high-tech company, what will you think, right? So he said, I couldn't even think about it. Like, it's not realistic. And suddenly, look, forget about the argument if it was good to build up back the state of Israel or not. The state of Israel exists now, and the Jews coming back, and we have a home. So this is a fact. So, but the same way that nobody could predict, nobody could imagine it 70-something years ago, it looked like all the Jews are going to be, how you said, annihilate or exterminate or die. All of the Jews, all over the world. That's it. That was the last thing. Look at us today. There is no day that Israel is not in the news everywhere, right? So the same way, the Mashiach will come. Nobody will be ready. He will show up. He will just show up. And Bezrat Hashem, very quickly. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great Shabbos.
So,